Hey, what's going on, everybody and listeners? Welcome to the Purpose Infused Brotherhood podcast. Super excited. We are in week 4 right now of becoming a great leader. This week, we are focusing on leadership struggles, and we got our man from the Mindset Mafia, Josh Martin, here. Over the next 30 to 45 minutes, what we're going to do is getting the topic of leadership struggles with Josh, and we're going to end it with him giving us top 3 pieces of advice to overcome that leadership struggle, whether, again, leadership is leading you and leading others, no matter if it's at home, in your career, out in the community. John, what's up, my man? Say hello, and then let the listeners know a little bit about Josh.
Man, I am super happy to be here, as always. And yes, dude, I am super excited to bring Josh on here. I met Josh down in Atlanta at the Create Conference. My guy, Ken Joslin, put it on. Phenomenal freaking conference. Josh Martin is a certified life coach, leadership trainer, Canadian entrepreneur. He's from way up there in Canada. He owns multiple businesses. From a young age, Josh has shown leadership skills, always worked into a manager's position with all the companies he's worked with. Josh was chosen from 1,500 students to attend Canadian Leadership Conference of Canada. He's now helping others with their leadership skills combined with life skills to help you achieve more in your leadership role, as in the Mindset Mafia. And also he has a new adventure he's branching out into, and we look very forward to sharing that opportunity for you guys to be involved in that as well.
Absolutely.
So Josh, say hello, give the listeners
what's going on,
multiple cool things about you.
Yeah.
And outside of work, what do you really enjoy doing?
Man, you know what? Outside of work, I love looking at real estate. It sounds cliche, but I really do love it. It's fun for me. Looking at all the different houses. Chelsea and I, every once in a while, we'll go and check out all the open houses around us. Be like, we're going to live here one day. Like, it's coming, right? But
Awesome.
Super blessed, super thankful for you guys having me on.
Well, we're super grateful for you to be here. And again, you got an opportunity to sit in on our Brotherhood session earlier this week. And just to be able to have those and see that conversation. So we're going to pull some things from there. We're going to pull some different questions. Each week we go through a series of questions that we kind of go into with the leadership struggles. And the first one, Josh, we're going to get your thoughts here. Just give us a little bit of background of some of the real quick, maybe like a minute or so background, little synopsis outside of your bio of saying, hey, here's what I'm really about. Here's what my gift is. And here's what I share with other men.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no. One of my passions is obviously mental health, as you both know, specifically, for men. I mean, it's for everybody, but for men particularly, we don't often have a place to go and talk. So I got into leadership, like John said, at a young age, and just decided, I'm half decent at it. So why not keep doing it, right? So I've always gotten into that stuff. I enjoy it. I think there's a lot of stuff that obviously we're going to talk about today that gets missed in leadership roles. And it's a big passion of mine to study it. I enjoy, John Maxwell and all of his stuff. Obviously, it's just like dropping bombs all the time in his stuff. So I enjoy the leadership stuff. I enjoy talking to guys like yourself, teaching other people, taking younger guys along with me. Not that I'm old by any means, but taking some guys under my wings in construction in my background there. And it's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Hey, what's your favorite John Maxwell quote?
Oh, I don't know. I've got a list of them. It'd be hard to put one, to be honest.
Okay, what's the first one that came to your mind then?
Honestly, I don't have one off the top of my head.
Dang. People don't care.
Sorry, brother.
People don't. That's okay. That's okay. I love John Maxwell. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think that is one of the biggest things about leadership right there.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that one, but like you said, like everybody thinks of that one with John Maxwell. I think he's got so many great ones that it's hard to like peg to one.
This is my John Maxwell shelf right there.
Yeah.
Whole
yeah.
No, it's awesome. And go ahead, John.
And I will tell you, because I've seen it first freaking hand, Josh, as well as myself, when John Maxwell was talking in Atlanta, dude, it was awesome. Yeah. It was phenomenal, dude. That guy lit that room up, and Ken had him come on there first, which undoubtedly he should have. And it was amazing. He shared so much awesome, great knowledge that you're just sitting there just like dumbfounded, like, wow.
And
this
he
is-
stayed the whole show too, did he not?
yeah, he did
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
stayed
And
and
it was
recorded the
like,
whole time.
but you're like, this is just an absolute legend right here, just laying greatness upon you. When he talked about his lunch meetings, the lunch meeting things, when he would go and have lunches with people and ask them 7 of the questions all the same, and they were phenomenal. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And
Lunch and learn. That was what I was. Lunch and learns. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what it's
definitely
called.
jealous that when you came back from that, I was definitely jealous that you got to see him. So let's jump into the first question here because it kind of goes into that piece as well. Is every leader has blind spots, and how do you, Josh? How would you say to help leaders with their blind spots? Because we all got them, but how would you help to find those blind spots and help others find their own blind spots?
Yeah, I think, for me, being in leadership in younger age and trying to like navigate my way through it. I
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh,
I wasn't the greatest leader when I got into it. I'll be quite honest, but I had my feet to the fire and just had to figure it out. And so one of the things that I've taken back from that is one of the things John Maxwell says is like, when you take on a leadership role, you lose the right to judge other people. And I think that's the biggest thing. And you have to be your hardest critic of yourself when you take on leadership. And if you figure that you have different blind spots that are coming around, or you notice things within your crew, your team, whatever venture you're in, you have to really just self-reflect, and take note, be open to having your team give some sort of feedback to you, right? Like ask questions and be open to it. Don't be upset because they didn't give you the answer that you didn't want, right? Like really be willing to take in that information and see how you can pivot and turn it into something great.
Yeah. I think lots of times, like what John Maxwell was saying too, is that it gets into that positional leadership where you say, hey, well, I have the position now, like what I say kind of goes. And I see that. I'm an educator too. So I see that a lot of times with principals and in education and stuff like that. You get this role and then all of a sudden now, like, hey, you're the one who knows everything and says, hey, here's what to do. And I think that's a lot of times a blind spot for people. Is that positional leadership myth. Dive into that a little bit, the positional leadership. Have you seen that in your leadership experiences? Have you fallen into that positional leadership aspect at all, in that myth at all?
Yeah, I've fallen into it tons of times. A lot of it, like we were talking on the brotherhood, is the ego, right?
Yeah.
Ego is, I'm one to say ego, a little bit of ego is kind of what pushes us all to do things out of our comfort zone, but too much of it obviously is the devil, right?
Yeah.
I've fallen into it many times, trying to, puff up your chest and be like, yeah, I'm the one that's going to do this. I've got this, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I think it happens to everybody. I think everybody at some point or another, regardless what position you hold, you fall into that. Titles aren't everything. You can have whatever title you want, CEO, COO, president, you put whatever you want at the end of your name. At the end of the day, it doesn't make you a leader. You have to be willing to self-develop and become better every day.
Absolutely. John, what do you got?
Absolutely awesome. And go back to what you were talking about there, Josh. Something that Clay has taught a lot of us in the Brotherhood group is the ARA sequence. Assess, reflect, and adjust. You know what I mean? Like when you look at things, you have to go through that ARA sequence. And it's a huge thing. And I'm super grateful for him for teaching me that lesson. And then also, with ego, my guy Wayne Dyer always talked about ego as edging God out. You know what I mean? Like when you push out, and not that we are in the Brotherhood group are a religious group by any means, but we are what we are. We're spiritual. We are who we are and what we are. We don't try to tell you who you need to be or what we think that you need to think and whatever thing like that. But Wayne Dyer is an amazing man, and with that knowledge, that's helped me tremendously. You know what I mean? Like when you think about ego, when you think about like edging God out, and putting yourself before anybody in your team or anything else, that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So
I think ego is one of those pitfalls, because one of the questions is like, what's the number one pitfall of what's the number one pitfall of leadership? And I think one of those pitfalls is the ego, is having that ego kind of explode up there. So dive into a little bit on that ego, Josh, because this is also, you do mental health work for men as well. So that goes into that as well. We'll get to that a little bit later, but dive into that kind of ego piece, because I think that's an important piece, that it is good, but it can be bad as well. So what else do you have on the ego and your thoughts about how can men really like control, I don't want to say it's control. Yeah, basically control their ego.
Yeah, I mean, we can all admit ego is definitely more of an issue typically in men, right? The testosterone or whatever it is in guys, but we tend to, have that chip on our shoulders more often than women do. And I think it's surrounding yourself with people that are willing to tell you the truth, tell you the stuff that's you don't want to hear. And it hurts for sure. Every one of us, whether we like it or not, we're going to get hurt by it a tiny bit. But if it's by the right people, like we were talking about the other day, the group that you have around you, and it's meant from a good place. I think that's one of the biggest things for me, is I had to make sure that I changed the people I was around and make sure that I wanted to grow into this person and become that, that leader that I want to reflect down to my kids in the future and my brothers and stuff around me, as well as the company that I'm with. I want to be able to, make an impact with them. And you have to learn to, when I said like earlier, how a little bit of ego helps push you forward into things and situations sometimes that you're not comfortable with without that little bit of ego, you have to at the same time learn and control your mind to know when that ego needs to go away, and ask the dumb questions if that's what it is, or ask for help when you need it. One of the biggest things for me and what I'm doing now in the company I'm in is the reason that I got this position is because I'm not afraid now to ask, hey, how does this go together? Dumb it down for me if you have to, right? Like, so you have to really just push that ego aside, and it takes practice. But I think the biggest thing is the surroundings making a difference, having people that aren't afraid to call you on your shit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the brother. And you saw it the other night is, we have the discussion. And if I ask a question in there, I know I'm going to get the truth and honest answer from every single one of those. I don't have to second guess. Like, I could go to somebody at work and they're going to give me, there's certain people at my work that they're just going to tell me everything I say is great. I'm like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want a yes man. So, and that's where in positions of leadership too, I've been in a position where everybody said yes. I'm like, guys, I don't want you to just say yes. Like, if you think I have this idea and it's fucking stupid, just tell me it's stupid as hell. Like, like we should throw this in the trash can and like redo something, I think as a leader too, you don't want yes men, but you want people around you that allows you to be able to look and see, again, go back to those blind spots. Maybe there's something that I'm missing. I think as a leader too, with those blind spots, it's your duty to ask your people about your blind spots too, and say, hey, am I missing anything? And I think that's important too, because when we do that, that allows us to gain information. I remember asking one of my friend or my teacher colleagues, and they were like, you have an idea, other people give ideas, and sometimes you're like, hey, that's cool, but you're still probably in the end just want to run with your idea. And I'm like, dang, that's pretty true. Like, thanks for being honest with me. You're like, well, you always know. Like, I'm like, that was good, because that allows me now to assess, reflect, and adjust and be a better leader than what I was doing there too. So I think that's important. Let's jump into, like, I think there's times too with the ego that things happen, you get this, you get that, maybe you get busy at home, you get busy here. And in a position of leadership, there's so many things on you, and the more that you lead, the more stuff that gets piled on you, the more responsibility you have. And sometimes you don't feel like fucking doing it. You're just like, I don't want to lead. So what would you suggest to people that are like, dude, I don't feel like leading today. I don't feel like doing this today. What's your thoughts on that, Josh?
We all have the days. I mean, we all do, right? I think if you're in alignment with what you want to do, your why, why you get out of bed every day. As cliche as it sounds, everybody's talking about that why, but why do you get out of bed? If that is big enough and you're doing it and impacting more people and you're in the right role, you're not getting up for yourself every day. You're getting up for the people that you're bringing along with you. Like you guys in the brotherhood, right? You can't miss a call just because you felt off. You've got all these other guys there that want to, are getting up themselves to be a part of this with you. And so I think if you are in alignment with what you want, in alignment with your role, and understand what you have, on your shoulders, it'll help you to push through those hard times and just keep going. And sometimes even making a phone call and having, like for me, John knows it. I've got Victor, right? I bring up stuff to Victor all the time. He knows stuff. I'm like, man, I've had a shit day, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, man, pull it together, get out of it. This is what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. And you get back on it, right? So having that person, like I was just saying, that kicks you back in gear is huge for me anyway.
I totally agree. And again, that's like, I always say, like, for the brotherhood, I lead the brotherhood, but I need the brotherhood too, because that's like my energy again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's my kickstart again. I was like, it's great. John, what were you gonna say?
And I was going to say, when I met Josh, and then I actually got time to hang out with Josh, he helped me have a great outlook into that younger generation than us. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 48, Clay's in his 40s now. We're there. Josh 29, getting ready to hit 30. But you know what? He has a great outlook on life. He has a great leadership skill that when I looked at him, I was like, man, I love that kid. You know what I mean? 100%. And I was super grateful for him to come on here tonight with us, and then also in our group, because I knew that he could bring something that we all have had, and then also admire to see in a younger generation.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? He's in that level where, like, you want to see him bringing up those, like my son, who's 21 years old. Like, if he could work for Josh, like, I know he's going to learn from somebody that's going to teach him some shit and gonna take him along the track to greatness, which is, not only where I try to push him, and I know that you do the same, but something that somebody in that younger generation is pushing forward and doing great things. So
Josh, let me ask you, because I love that, John, and it's so true to see that younger generation. Josh, do you feel like you're an outlier in your generation?
I'm definitely different. You know what? Like, I took on so my background is construction, as you guys know. Worked my balls off, worked in the oil field. Everybody went to school when I left at 18. I took the early graduate program and left. And I went straight to the oil field. We did a small construction job, here in town. And then I went straight to the oil field. And the oil field is what made me tough. The boys don't, there's no fluff and clouds up there. This is how it is. Get on with it, right? And I think for me, being able to push myself and be dedicated to it, I didn't know it back then, but obviously now looking back at it, to continue going through the mud, putting in the hours, being able to, miss Christmas because, this guy dropped off, didn't want to do the shift. Okay, screw it. I'll come in. I'll do it. It's good money. Why not? Made me tough. And it put me in a superintendent position in construction at 23. Yeah. And then from there, the mud just got thicker because I was 23 trying to tell all these guys that are 50, yeah, you need to do this and this, right? And they're like, who's this little pipsqueak? Like, we're not listening to this guy, right? And so it just continued to make me stronger. Yeah. And, John, I'm super thankful for your words there. A lot of that imposter syndrome played a big part in my start back in 2020. So it's great to hear that. And yeah, I'm super thankful.
Yeah, and that imposter syndrome, I love that you brought that up, because that's an ego-based aspect that gets put on there, and just feeling it. How bad was that imposter syndrome for you?
Every once in a while it still kicks in, just like ego, right? I think in my mind it's the other side of ego. It's not the aggressive side, it's the the internal struggle that you have. But yeah, I mean, it comes up every once in a while, but you have to just grow your mind to the point where you're like, I'm going to put myself in these positions of fear and keep moving forward, right? Because you're not going to grow if you don't. For me personally, I hated reading. And the year that I found and got involved with like Steve Harvey, just so you guys know, like Steve Harvey was the reason that I got back into faith and being more with myself kind of thing. He's like what triggered it for me for whatever reason. But that year I read 13 books. I'm a kid with ADD in school, didn't get any of the support I was supposed to. And I read 13 books in 1 year. And so it's crazy to see how things grow. And you look back on it and you're like, how far have we come? And you just have to push that imposter syndrome aside and keep going.
Totally agree. And I think a lot of times it comes back, the imposter syndrome comes back to two greatest questions. Am I good enough? And do I have what it takes? And those two, and we sit there and we doubt ourselves on that. And when we doubt ourselves as a leader, it's okay. And listeners, it's okay to have that doubt, but it's not okay to stay in it. Like, we don't want to do that. And that's what you just shared with us there, is that just to continue and to go through there, go through the shit. We're going to go through shit fields. You might as well go through them and get through them quickly instead of just, laying down, making shit angels. We don't want to do that. But being able to kind of go through those struggles, go through that adversity. John Maxwell always says too, a rubber band only works when it's stretched. And that's where the growth is in that stretch. It's that stretch outside of that comfort zone into the uncomfortable. Now, there's lots of times too where we don't want to go past the uncomfortable because that gets into the anxiety and panic zone. But in that uncomfortable zone is where real growth occurs. And that's where you blossom. And that's super cool. So what about when you're in a position of leadership? Have you have anybody who kind of like you felt like they betrayed you or they disappointed you or like something like that happened where you kind of had that adversity? Because that's like, you're in a position of leadership and then something happens and you're like, what the fuck? Especially if it comes from, I've been in that situation. Yeah. So have you been in that situation? How did you kind of handle that situation? And what steps did you take? Was it rectified or were you like, hey, peace out?
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't for a long time. I had to learn to, I think this is where, like Clay, we were talking about the other day, is management versus leadership, right?
Yes.
If you put your management shoes on, doesn't necessarily make you a leader. But I found from my experiences, disappointments and stuff came from the ownership of a company that I was working with or the upper management of this, because they weren't, boots in the ground on this side of the fence going, this is what's actually happening in the field. You guys aren't understanding that. And I think as a leader, and I'll get back to the management thing, but as a leader, if you're involved with your company, with your team, whatever it happens to be, you take the effort and the time to go into the field and see what guys are going through in the trenches. Yeah. And if you're not willing to do that, you're going to end up, without even trying, disappointing people below you. Yeah. You might have, and this is what happened to me. You might have somebody like me at a young age, eager, want to get going, build this thing. Let's go after these $10 million jobs. Let's get these $20 million jobs. Let's keep going. And one manager can, disappoint you from growing. And then when you get into a management position, if somebody disappoints or betrays you, the team, the company, your automatic thought is, okay, we're going to get rid of them. Mm-hmm. Right. When you put your leadership shoes on, you have to take your shoes off and put them in theirs and really see, why did that person do this? Was it something I did? Was it something I didn't give them support on? What could I have done better to help them not make that decision? I mean, sometimes people are just going to be selfish. They're going to make those betrayals. But as a leader, you might come to that conclusion that, yeah, this person probably needs to leave the team, which is fine. But first reflect and realize, okay, what happened first, instead of just automatically, yep, they've got to go, we got to get rid of them. And if you realize there's something that maybe you misstepped on or that they didn't quite understand or wasn't communicated properly, because communication is so big in all of these teams, figure out how you now coach them to grow as well. That you've now found a pitfall in that person. How can you now help expand them and push them up with you so that it doesn't happen again?
Oof, perfect. That's great, man. That was like literally as you were talking. Go ahead. Yeah, John, go.
I was gonna say, absolutely freaking awesome.
Have you ever, Josh, read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willings?
No, I haven't.
You got to read that one. Cause
Do it.
literally you were just, as you were talking there, I'm like, man, this is Jocko, you know, cause it's awesome. It's extreme ownership. One of my favorites, but really what he's saying is like, it comes back to you. If you're the leader, it comes back to you. And that's what I think the difference. And I want to get into this here real quick before we move on to those top three pieces of advice you have for us to go through those struggles, and then get into our little 5-second Q&A. But I think really that leader and manager, that leader says, hey, whatever goes on, it's on me. So what happened here? How can I do this? What can we do? A manager, just like in education, we see it all the time. I literally have a master's degree in educational leadership. I had, out of 60 credits, I had one class that was on leadership, and it was management. It wasn't leadership. There was no leadership. Like they had a conflict resolution. Step 6 was talk to the people. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like that's the reason why shit's all fucked up in education. It's because like step 6 is talk to the people, because what managers try to do in conflict resolution is try to solve it without getting into the conflict. And what you talked about is diving right into the conflict and saying, hey, if there's a conflict here and something went wrong, it's mine, and taking ownership of that. Somehow something's coming back to I need to do something better so that these things don't happen. So what are your thoughts on kind of that extreme ownership? And then I'm going to tell you to go I'm going to recommend you go read that.
Yeah. I think the more you take ownership in everything that you do, just, you know, leadership, relationships, we were talking about that on the brotherhood the other day. It doesn't matter what it is. If you decide to take that ownership in your life, you're going to live a bit of a happier life, in my opinion. You know, I think, like for example, for today, like we had a young guy on site, just started his new company. He's doing low betting, right, for us. And this is where I knew that I had a bit of growth on my leadership, because I used to get instantly mad because he messed up, right? He didn't, for a long story short, he didn't raise something on the truck, ended up making a big dent in the asphalt, right? So I got called over. I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, it's just asphalt, right? And it's like, you can see the kid's upset. He knows he's messed it up. My old management shoes would have been like, firecracker. Okay, we're phoning your boss. We're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. But no, I stepped back and I said, look, he knows he's messed up. He's taken ownership of it, right? Ownership. He's admitted that he screwed up. Is there any point in me beating him down? No. Put your truck back together. Let's move on, right? You've got other trucks and stuff to move. Don't let this affect your whole day, and let's keep going, right? Everybody else back to work. Let's just keep moving. And I think, you know, him taking that ownership made me take the ownership as well. Oh. And, you know, if somebody else had gotten out and said, you know, like, hey, this isn't my fault, blah, 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 and like got defensive, it would have put my guard up instantly as well. And I think if more people take ownership of stuff and realize that, you know, if you did screw up, just admit it. Or if you did something that was not in the right order or alignment, just say it, right? Like, and let's move on. You'll instantly get more respect from other people around you, and you'll automatically start creating a path to fix that problem.
Correct. Absolutely. That's 100%. I also recommend that in relationships too. You know, if you got your spouse and stuff, like, dude, if you fucked up, dude, just say it. You know, they ain't trying to back out, or, you know, sometimes as men, we're trying, oh, well, you know, like, dude, just fucking own it. You know what I mean? Like, own it, because not only do you take ownership of that, but like you said, it gives that other person a different reaction than what's actually occurring. And I think that's something that's super important to be able to do that. So as well.
Absolutely. And you know what? And again, Josh, that's why I super appreciate you and who you are, and the knowledge that you have. You know what I mean? And why I'm super grateful to bring you into this brotherhood group and to have you on our podcast like that. You know what I mean? For you to recognize that and then to deal with that like that is awesome.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to say, like, being 29 and doing that, dude, I am super excited that there are leaders like that, because, you know, and we've had other younger guys that are in the brotherhood too, that have been there, and I've talked with, and it's so cool to see because your generation gets a lot of flack at being like a bunch of lazy weirdos. You know what I mean? Like, I just call it out. Like, that's what people say. But the cool thing is like, you guys have so many cool, really awesome ideas. You think differently than us, I was raised in Pennsylvania. John, same thing, blue collar, work your ass off, shut up and get the job done. But you guys have different, and you're like, hey, like we see what you went through. We want things to be different, and you're leading in that. So super praise, man. Hey, let's get into what top three.
All right, hang on, Clay.
Fights.
Hang on,
Yo.
Clay, because I got one. I got a surprise one right here.
Okay.
So, Josh and his Mindset Mafia. What are your key points for mindset, Josh?
Find a
He's like,
mentor.
oh my.
Yeah, no, it's good. Find a mentor.
Mm.
Look yourself in the mirror, and you know what? This is totally a weird one. I had to do it for a little while. I will admit, it's still a little weird to me. Look yourself in the mirror every day. Hey, I can do this. I'm great. I can win anything I want. Make sure that what you say to yourself is 10 times more important than what other people say around you.
Yeah.
And then the third one is just stay committed to it. It's something that grows every day. Leadership, I don't care how long you've been in leadership, management, mindset, whatever, it's an ever growing thing. And you have to continue to learn and be curious that you want to learn, right? Take interest in the things that you're talking about. Take interest in the people that are around you.
Yep. Man, listen, let's just make those the top three pieces of advice to go through your leadership struggles, because that's literally what it is, man. And I love the mirror, because I just literally, the new program I did is the Purpose Starter program, and it's a 15-step process of what I really did. The step 13 I just wrote today was forgive yourself, and it talks about looking in the mirror into your eyes. And so there's 3 challenges with this one. The first one's to forgive other people. The second is to forgive you by looking in the mirror and say, hey, I forgive yourself. I forgive me. And the third thing is I was challenged at 28 years old, and when he challenged me, I was like, dude, this is the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life. But I respected the man enough to do it. And he challenged me. He said, in a group of 50 people. So we're at this business meeting in a group of 50 people. He saw me. He just looked at me and goes, stop whatever he's talking about. And he goes, Clay, you need to look in the mirror, tell yourself you love you and mean it. And then just went back to what he was saying. And I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid, but
yeah,
whatever. I'm going to say it to you, And 2 days later, I know the mirror, I know the sink, I know the faucet, I know exactly what that thing looked like, because I could not look myself in the eyes and say, I love you. And I thought I was good at that point in time. And it took me 6 months to be able to do it. So that every day since, I can sit there and look in the mirror and be like, I love you, man, and mean it and believe it. And I think so your mirror, like I'm telling you, whoever follows you and the mafia mind, like that, literally go to the mirror, do what Josh says, because it literally will change your life. So
yeah,
I'm all for that. It's not hokey dokey. It's fucking hard.
I'll add something to that too now. Like, so I'll be the first to admit, like, I don't do it enough. But if you come to my house, you're going to think I'm nuts. Inside my house, I have sticky notes throughout the house. There's a bunch on my mirror now. It says the income we want to make. It says attitude is number 1. Be positive every day. The first thing when I wake up and go to the bathroom every morning, it's the first thing I see.
Yep.
Automatically clicks in my brain. Yep. You got to do better at this. I've got these. I'll send these to you guys. They're these gratitude universal universe checks. I wrote a check on there for myself with the date and everything of what I want to make. Like, start manifesting those things around you and put it in front of you on what you want to be great at, what you're going after.
Absolutely. I love.
I will reiterate that to the fact of, I sent the video to a couple people that I'm very close to, like my girls, Cynthia Coggy, Ken Joslin, my guy, Daniel Gomez. My mirror, I have affirmations written on there because I was reading my guy Daniel Gomez's book, The Mindset Makings of a Millionaire Mind, and he told me to do it, and I was like, I would do it. I'm like, and when I read it, I was like, you know what? I know this is some woo-woo shit, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy in. I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, and I added on there, if it's God's will, greatness will be done. I am a millionaire mindset, millionaire self-image. Like, those are the things that you have to do. And And I appreciate you, Josh, for sharing that. And I will say that, yes, I've had people over. My aunt actually added one on my mirror. She was like, "You are awesome." And I was like, "Well, shit, I'll take that." I was like,
I'm gonna have to do that next to my fridge. Put a sticky note there. Leave notes.
I use whiteboard markers on our mirrors. So
that's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome, man. So awesome. Hey, so we're going to get into quick hit. Okay, here's what it is.
All
We're
right,
going to
here
end
we
it.
go.
We got 5 seconds. John and I are going to ping pong back and forth. John, you want to start or you want me to start? Doesn't matter. But Josh, you got 5 seconds to answer the question rapid fire. Just to
I will
end.
start.
You're
Josh.
starting?
I will. Josh.
All right, go.
Favorite animal?
Lion.
Work or play?
Work.
Favorite word?
Attitude.
Top book recommendation for our listeners.
Speak to Win by Brian Tracy.
Nice. Who's your hero?
Myself.
Nice.
What's your deepest fear?
Oh, I don't know. That one's a hard one. Nah, that one caught me. I don't know.
Throw it out. Throw it out.
Losing my family.
Nice. If you could go back in time, change any part of your life, would you?
No.
Good. Because that shit happens for you, not to you. Go ahead.
What do you wish you learned sooner?
Better management skills.
Do you prefer a soft cloud version or the sword version of the truth?
The sword.
Absolutely.
What's your biggest strength?
Compassion.
And being fucking awesome. So,
I agree. Josh, man, this has been awesome, man. And just to be able to sit here and have that conversation, let listeners know where can they find you so that way they can get in contact with you and kick ass too.
Yeah. So I'm actually working on putting a podcast together myself, but it's not up and running right now. So right now, best way for me is on Instagram at Josh Mindset Mafia.
Awesome. Sweet. You got a website or anything too?
We're working on a website. We've got a site up right now. John, I don't know if you were planning on sharing this, but as I told John and Clay earlier in the week, we are putting a cause together right now to build for mental health facilities, targeting men mostly. But right now, the website that I do have is www.joshjmartin.com. And that will actually redirect you to the webinar page that is August 6th.
Exactly.
Any of the money raised, all the speakers are coming for the same cause. Any money that's raised after expenses is going to get donated to that cause as well. So
awesome.
And that webinar, what's the title of the webinar?
Infinite Potential Webinar.
Exactly.
Awesome. Good deal, man. We'll have all that stuff in the show links for everybody to get in contact with Josh, kick ass too with him. Guys, I know you found value in this. We ask you to do 4 things. 1, download the episode for future use. Number 2, subscribe to the podcast so you can hear it weekly. Number 3, rate and review. When you give a rate and review, we reach more people and we help more men. And number 4, share this episode with just one other man that you know has a mess or that needs this message. So if you want to get information about the Purpose Infused Brotherhood and do the Purpose Starter Program so you get started on your purpose journey, go to purposeinfusedbrotherhood.com. Josh, thanks, my man. Appreciate the hell out of you. This was awesome. It's going to help a shit ton of people, and we're going to kick a lot of ass together. So thank you, man, for being here.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you both. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you also, Josh, and 100%. Thank you. And definitely go out, check out the webinar. It will kick ass.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, boys.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.